Greetings, friend, and welcome to the Between the Covers podcast, where we are working every day to remove the self-limiting beliefs that are preventing us from becoming the heroes of our own stories. I am Marcus Spar. Before we dive into today's topic, I do just want to give a gentle reminder that if you have benefited from this podcast, then I would encourage you to like this video and subscribe, maybe even leave a comment about what it is that you have enjoyed hearing as I just jump around from topic to topic. Today, let's talk about faith. This is a little bit of a touchy subject, especially with many of the conservative evangelical Christian circles that I used to be a part of. And the main thing that I want to talk about regarding faith is how it is natural for our faith to change as time progresses. Probably the best example I've ever heard on this topic is how when we are children, we are told to believe things based on what our parents tell us, maybe our spiritual leaders, based on just what our community is telling us is important for us to know and to believe in. This has been described as a cotton ball faith. And what that means is it's the kind of faith that people can have. I'll use my upbringing as an example here, where you are in Sunday school with a lot of other kids and you have some Sunday school teachers who are sharing with you a Bible story, and it's just very surface level or very moralistic. And while this is going on, you are gluing cotton balls on sheep, on little pieces of paper. It is a very childlike form of faith. And one of the things that has happened to me a lot is my faith has changed over the years. Bearing in mind, I've been in and out of a lot of different churches, and especially in Protestant Christianity, people really struggle to come to an agreement on what the Bible says or what's important for us to consider in terms of our faith. So whether it was the Methodist Church, the Southern Baptist, if it was a non-denominational, if it was charismatic, if it was Catholic, I've been to many different churches, experienced many different theologies. And one of the things that has happened a lot, especially within the last 4, 5 or so years, is my faith has changed because this faith that I was given while growing up doesn't really fit with what I have experienced. It doesn't fit within my observations. It doesn't fit within many of the borders that a lot of people have told me I need to keep my life in. I need to keep my mind in. And I have wrestled with some very difficult questions around my faith. And it's natural to ask questions. I am very skeptical now when someone gives me some kind of religious or spiritual claim. I am very skeptical about what I take in the media as well. I am skeptical of any claims being made in ads. It's something that is very valuable to me, being a skeptic, being skeptical, and being able to critically think for myself, and therefore take many of these things that have been given to me over the years and actually scrutinize them to see whether or not they hold water. For a lot of people who grew up as Christians, they would say that this is a very dangerous place that I'm in. And I get that, because for them, if I were to, say, ask some of these questions about whether or not there is a hell, if the devil is real, if there is such a thing as spiritual warfare, if it's okay to be in a homosexual relationship and be in a homosexual marriage, as I wrestle with these ideas, a lot of people are afraid that I'm going to get my information from the incorrect sources. And this is part of the reason why my partner Libby and I, we do not attend a Christian church anymore. That, and we both experienced a lot of spiritual abuse and trauma over the years, that being a part of a church community has been more painful than anything else, and we don't want to go through that trauma anymore. So here I am in my 40s, and I'm asking some really tough questions, and my faith is evolving. It is changing, and that's natural. It's natural for us to grow from the young children who would ask our parents about everything about the world around us, and whatever answer they gave us, it's like, okay, and then we move on with our day. We're totally satisfied. We're not going to ask anything more. I think of this great example from a professor of mine when I was in college, who shared that his son was at that point where he was just asking why all the time. Again, kids get to a point where they are just super curious and they just want to ask why. And he was sharing how his son would just keep asking why. His dad or his mom would answer, and then he'd ask why. They'd answer. He'd ask why. They'd answer. And eventually get to the point where they'd say, that's just how God made it. And then their kid just looked at him and was like, okay, and was satisfied with that answer and just walked off. And I remember this professor saying he didn't know what he was going to do when that was no longer a suitable answer or a satisfying answer for his son. And I also know of a great many adults who live life this exact same way. We are told what it is that we need to believe from a spiritual authority, from a pastor, a priest, from friends, from family. And one of the things that is profoundly sad for me is the number of people who never even question or do their own research or their own work into what this looks like. Is it true? With everything that's going on in the political spectrum here in the United States, one of the questions that I often think of a lot, and I'm really going to put myself out here with this one, is I hear these messages from individuals who say that they want to make America a Christian nation. This is specifically coming from the MAGA crowd. And one of the questions that I have to ask is, what Christianity? What Christianity are you basing these statements off of? Are we talking Catholic? Are we talking Reformed Catholic? Are we talking Eastern Orthodox Catholicism? Are we talking Protestantism? If we're talking Protestantism, are we talking Presbyterian, Southern Baptist? Are we talking Methodist? Are we talking evangelical? Are we talking non-denominational? What version of the Bible are you referring to? There's so many different versions out there, and in my experience, contrary to what a lot of people would say, it doesn't matter the version, they're all pretty much saying the same thing. No, that's not what happens with translations. Mistranslations happen all the time. And not to mention that there's a lot of the ancient Hebrew that just doesn't translate nicely to English or to any of these other languages. And I've often heard arguments that there are a lot of instances where a mistranslation can completely change what this holy book describes and the stories that it's telling. So I ask questions. I am curious about the authenticity of this faith that was given to me. I am curious about the authenticity of this holy book called the Bible. And these are dangerous questions to a lot of people in Christian circles. And I'm still going to ask them. I'm still going to do my work to figure out whether or not what I was told as I was gluing cotton balls on sheep when I was a little kid, if these are true or not. And I will admit this also comes through the lens of pain as well, because there has been so much fear, so much anxiety, so much harm that has been done to myself, to Libby, and to others that I know because of dogmatic beliefs, dogmatic religions. Personally, one of the things for me is I don't push my beliefs on others. I really don't. In fact, I have a friend, actually I've got 3 friends who are Christian, and one of them, I took this challenge from some friends of mine who also have a podcast. And they were talking about this challenge that one of them had done of asking people of various friend circles to describe them in 3 to 5 words. And they challenged their audience to do the same thing. So that's what I did. I reached out to a lot of friends, and most of them surprisingly got back to me very quickly. My friend Katie, she shared 5 words with me, and one of the words, she was one of the ones who gave me something very interesting. And that was 2 words that she described me as was thought-provoking. And I'm like, no one else has said anything like that. And of course, she followed up with, if you want any clarification on these, then please let me know. And we had a conversation about it later. Apparently, it's not the first time that someone has asked her to do something like this. And she was concerned because, for one thing, she was being honest. And I so appreciate her. All of my friends were incredibly honest about how they observe me. And in fact, I really need to take their responses and write them down somewhere just so I can reflect on them later. But Katie has had experiences where people have been disappointed by what she has shared in her honest assessments. And I told her that really the only one that caught me off guard was the thought-provoking. And what she had said is, in the conversations that we have, I ask questions that really just get her thinking. And I get her to think about things from different perspectives. I'm like, oh, that's actually a really good trait for someone like me. Someone who is a coach, who asks questions to get people thinking and come to answers on their own. I don't tell anyone what I think they need to believe, or what I believe they need to believe. Because that was a part of my cotton ball faith. And as an adult now, when there are individuals who wish to force their religious beliefs upon everyone else, that's not something that I jive with. No, I don't want someone to tell me what it is that I need to think and I need to believe. I will come to that own conclusion, thank you very much. And I encourage others to do the same. I encourage everyone, if you are in a similar position like me and you have questions, you're wrestling with some very difficult things about your faith, then know you are in the same boat as the vast majority of people who have been a part of any kind of religious or spiritual institution. It's one of the reasons why we have so many different Protestant denominations, is because so many people are asking questions and they're coming up with different answers about what the Bible says and what's important. It's why there was a schism in the Catholic Church. Now we have like Vatican II, where they became more open to some things that the previous Catholics were like, no, this is bad, this is sinful. And yet they're changing and they're growing in these definitions and their understanding of humanity. Well, some people didn't agree with that. So now there's like Vatican II Catholicism, and then there's Reformed Catholicism, which is like really going back to previous archaic versions of like even Dark Ages or Middle Ages kind of Catholic beliefs, if I can get my words out properly. Just know that it is okay for your faith to change. It's totally normal. As we grow, as we gather more evidence, I know of individuals who have gone through something incredibly traumatic, and it has bolstered their faith, and they are more devoted to whatever the precincts of their precincts, is that the right word? The principles of their faith, their beliefs. And there are those who have gone through something terribly traumatic and it doesn't fit anymore. I have friends who have lost children. I have family that have lost children at birth, before birth. There are those who have had to bury their own children. And some of it is because of a horrific accident. Some of it is from some kind of disease. There are people who have been in so much pain, and they pray and they pray and they plead and they plead, and it's just like nothing. It's just silence. These things have profound impacts on all of us. Profound impacts on all of us. And we're not going to respond the same way. And that's totally fine. It's totally fine. You are allowed to make your own decisions and grow how best fits you around your own faith and your own beliefs. For me, I do not believe a lot of the things that I believed growing up. In fact, I'm just going to be totally honest here. I don't even know if I can call myself a Christian. I'm agnostic. I just really don't know. The nature of whether we're talking God, we're talking the universe, some kind of ethereal presence, it's just something that I cannot put words to. that doesn't mean I'm not exploring it. I'm talking with Christians. I'm talking with non-Christians. I'm asking questions. I have people who have been so helpful in giving me the space to ask difficult questions, to provide their own thought-provoking questions to help me come to my own conclusions. And I'm so grateful for this. I'm so grateful for this opportunity, for these people. And this is just a natural part of life. I remember sharing this with my mom, and she had told me that she wished that she had known sooner what I was going through because she had gone through something very similar. She really wrestled with her own faith when I think she was younger than me. And as she wrestled with it, as she has had her own life experiences, she has come to her own conclusions of what is important, of what is true, and I'm happy for her. She believes things that I don't, and that's okay. It doesn't change the fact that I still love her. It doesn't change the fact that she still loves me. This is a very individual experience. Doesn't mean you can't explore this in a community, but I would still encourage you to ask some of those skeptical, difficult questions about who's influencing you and why. Are you allowed to ask these questions? Or is this something that's more hypocritical? Is it dangerous? Are you being influenced by otherworldly spiritual forces? It is absolutely natural for your faith to change. So allow it. As comfortable as you are to allow it. I know there are individuals who are in faith communities that if they question their faith and they admit it, it puts them in a very difficult situation. If that's what you're going through, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry that's what you're going through. What I will say is it's going to be important that you find that safe place to ask these questions. I have many clients who are Christian, and as we are going over the stories of their lives and working through their maladaptive coping mechanisms, I have so many people who tell me that, you know what, I don't even know if God is real, because why have I struggled with this for so long? It's natural. And I create a safe space to let them know, hey, you can ask those questions here. It's okay. And you'll come up with your own answer. I don't push my beliefs on them. In fact, I often meet my clients where they are. I hope that you have been inspired or maybe even challenged by this discussion. Just realize that where you are right now, totally okay. It is okay to be who you are, where you are, and what you're wrestling with. It's okay. You're okay. Or I hope you're okay. Hopefully you're not in any kind of dangerous situation. But be curious. Ask questions. Grow. Be a critical thinker. And until next time, live strong for today.